Okay, I'm making this video before I eat, so if I seem a little bit spacey, it's because I'm hungry and I'm thinking about what I want to have for lunch. But incident three is where I really felt unresolved. My partner as well. We both felt very uncomfortable, very unresolved by what happened here. So I had a text exchange with him, and it was involving him talking about having a violent episode and not handling his anger well. So I immediately flagged that and got concerned for who was my best friend at the time. And I was like, well, her dad and her upbringing wasn't, it was within the confines of violence. I'm not going to give examples or details because that is personal, but the highlight is she had to deal with that growing up, and that was traumatic. I mean, it's not easy to have any parent that has, like anger issues or anything. But that's where I'm going to leave that because, like I said, that's her story, and I don't want to reveal any further information about that. So, given that context, I was like, well, I'm worried that this is like an emotionally abusive environment. Like, I'm not saying that you're an abuser, but I'm just worried that if you have violent outbursts, knowing her past, that could be affecting her. And I was just kind of being a girl's girl, like having her back and being like, I'm concerned for my friend here. And it turned into, well, I should just hide away and I'm just a terrible person, like an instant manipulation in the text exchange. So I just kind of stood, like, took a step back. And here's where the alarming thing happens. She calls me the next day to confirm, like, oh, I'm not being abused. I thank you for caring, but everything's great, yada yada. But she highlights the fact that she's calling me while he's asleep. If that be held true, why couldn't he also be on that call? And it got weirder throughout the day because she was like, well, I need you to call and apologize to him for what you said. And she is a sister. And the sister and I were gonna, like, we caught up that day and hung out briefly. And she's like, well, I want you to call with my sister. And then it turned into, I want you to come down here and I want you to apologize to him because you using the verbiage abusive towards him caused him to have a panic attack and everything. And I was just very uncomfortable by that. I was like, why do I have to stop what I'm doing and apologize for him when he was the one that said those things initially? It's not like there was a misunderstanding, it was clear cut. And if there needs to be further, like, examination, I have those screenshots. And like I said, in those screenshots, names are blocked out because I don't want to reveal any identifying factors about these people. But it was just really uncomfortable. So I was like, no way, I'm not coming down there. I feel like I'm going to get ambushed. My partner and I were both very uncomfortable. So we had a phone call. And I was like, I can call you to examine if I feel comfortable enough coming down. And so we had a phone call, and it didn't go over well. First, she started raising her voice at me and accusing me. She's like, well, you hurt him, and we're a package deal, and you need to just understand that we are all, like, both tied together now from here on out. And I was like, whoa, like, I explained what I said by reading the text verbatim. I was like, this is what the texts say. I am reading them. And this is where, I was concerned and trying to have your back. And she just laid into me further to the point that I got frustrated and flustered. And this is where I messed up, and I take accountability. I shouldn't have gotten so overwhelmed. But when I'm getting berated for reading something and told that that's not what happened and just getting talked over, I punched the table in frustration and I was like, stop, please. And again, understanding, the violent aspect, it's hypocritical of me to punch the table in frustration, but you have to understand where I was coming from. I'm trying to address and say my POV, and I'm just getting talked over and yelled at. And it was like, this is not appropriate. This is not making me want to come down and talk to you guys face to face. So after I showed my frustration, it was an immediate deflection against anything we were saying. And then he was like hyperventilating and crying. This was before I hit the table in frustration. He was hyperventilating and crying and being like, you're like my little sister, and I only talk to you, and I talk to you more than my own biological sisters, which is not true. He brags that he has a group text with his sisters that he is constantly talking about and showing me images of, so that's a cap right there. But it was manipulation because instead of just remaining calm and being like, can we assess the situation and talk things through, he was already doing like emotional manipulation in the background. And she was stressed. Like, I don't condone her getting mad at me and salty with me, but it was probably very overwhelming for her. And so after the table experience, they were like, oh, well, he like came out of the woodworks. He's like, you know what? Yeah, you are a girl's girl. I'm so glad that you're friends with her. She needs someone that would actually look after her. And oh, I was cooking, so I wasn't like typing in what I actually wanted to say. And it's like, I can't remember the last time I was cooking a steak and I said, "Oh yeah, I have violent episodes and I don't handle my anger well." Like those were coherent sentences. It's one thing if you're typing and you can see like, very short spurts or it's like a disconnected sentence, but that's not what was happening here. Cooking does not make you admit to potentially abusive behaviors and attitudes. That didn't make any sense to me. So after the deflection, it was immediate love bombing. Like, oh yeah, you're a great friend to her. And whenever we did show up, so we did agree to go down there and talk further. And instead of her saying, like, hey, I am so sorry for raising my voice at you and misunderstanding, and, like I see that you were reading the text verbatim, it was just, I apologize. I apologize. Like, never once actually saying, I'm sorry. And when you just repetitively say, I apologize, what's the difference between that and saying, sorry you feel that way? There isn't, because you're not taking accountability. You're not actually owning what you're sorry about. So, yeah, we got kind of gaslit into a situation where we are like, oh, yeah, this is easygoing and stuff. And, like, oh, we're glad that we talked and everything. But then the next day or two, my partner and I were like, wait, nothing actually got resolved and I don't feel right about this. But this was the third incident before them blowing up my phone, texting me, and showing up to my house unannounced because of unofficial plans about a bonfire. And that's where I was like, I'm done with this friendship. I am not dealing with this further. There was no respect. I, you know, that's the straw that broke the camel's back for me. But this was the third incident, and then all that just building and building, and then them doing that to me just last Saturday was the breaking point. But all in all, those were the three major incidents. I'm going to share another story and where I feel like there was a lot of disrespect and just a lot of things I overlooked looking back, like just red flags, my gut's not reading that right. But when there's incidents and they never actually get resolved and talked about, please consider that. That's not healthy, that's a red flag, and they will like accumulate over time, and then there will be a boiling point. But yeah, like I don't know what the circumstances are with those two. I don't, that's not my involvement. I have zero contact and I would like for it to stay that way. The reason why I'm making these videos is so I can outwardly express what happened in case people that do know mutually who these people are and who I am, so you see my point of view, and also it's cathartic to just openly express these things because you don't know who's watching this video and they're like, oh, I've had a similar incident, and thank you for helping me realize. Like, you're not crazy if you feel like something doesn't sit right with you. You're not crazy if something isn't resolved and it truly is not resolved. Like, you have every right to speak up and talk about things. Like, there's no harm in that, whether it's therapy, whether it's talking to friends, family, community, or even making TikToks where you're just like expressing vaguely what needs to be expressed. That is okay. But I don't want to have this video be too long, so I just wanted to conclude that as the third incident. And I have one more story that I'd like to share before I just kind of move on going forward. But thank you for watching and listening.